This isn't just another podcast. We're crushing the taboos and we're rewriting the rules. It's the space where we normalize women becoming wealthy. If you're done playing small and ready to become the CEO of your life and the architect of your future, then my girl, you're in the right room. Welcome to your wealthy era. Welcome to the Wealthy CEO podcast. Today's guest is going to completely raise your vibration. Kristen Stuart is a spiritual mentor and activator of frequency for visionary women. Her work lives at the intersection of embodied feminine leadership and spiritual sovereignty. If you've ever felt the call to rise beyond the strategy and lead from soul over system, this conversation is the frequency shift you didn't know you needed. Kristen, I am so excited to welcome you to the Wealthy CEO podcast today. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and to dive into a really rich conversation with you.
So good. And you are surrounded by the beautiful mountains, the Rockies. You're always somewhere in the world. So it's nice you're home base right now.
Yeah, I'm home, and the Canadian Rockies have been my home base for 24 years. So definitely there, and truly a gem to be surrounded by these magnificent peaks and to live in such a stunning place in the world.
Yeah. And just that energy, I love mountain energy. There's ocean and mountain, nothing like it, right?
Exactly. And yeah, mountain energies, it's really powerful. It's helped form me like as a woman, as a leader. My life, really, so much of who I am was like birthed through my experiences in the mountains, because I used to live as an international hiking guide, live as an international hiking guide, a personal trainer, and then my personal recreational pursuits were rock, ice, alpine climbing, backcountry skiing, all of the adrenaline and adventure sports.
I love that. Okay, well, let's continue with that, because for those that may not know you, share a little bit about your story, because that is completely different to the woman you are today and what you are doing.
Yes.
Let's just go down memory lane a little bit and hear about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I was called to the mountains in 2001. So that's when I moved out here. I'd been traveling internationally for a while, spent a ton of time in Central America, and moved to the mountains, felt the draw of, the power of nature, the energy here, the beauty. It's incredible. I was healing from a bit of a traumatic experience traveling, robbery and all sorts of things were part of that, and knew that, I was being called to the healing of this land for sure. And I had no idea I would stay here, but this is where I met my husband, who's an international mountain guide. That was, his first career, and dove into this mountain playground and really, I guess you could say I was graced by grit in many ways, and lived a very adrenaline infused lifestyle, very warrioress style, I would say. And it also, it is part of my story, and it's also part of the history of what emerged from there, because yes, a lot of people have no idea of this background that I've lived. Because of this embodiment and teaching divine feminine teachings and moving into more spiritual mentorship now, whereas before, at the time, I was guiding, I was personal training and working as a wellness coach, and then diving into yoga at that time as well. And so the mountains called me, and then there was a deeper part of the journey that was propelled from here, because I wound up in a very traumatic sexual trauma experience after I moved here. It was an employer. And I share that because we can see the layering. When we start to look back at our story, we see the layering that was there, and literally the journey of evolution through it, the journey of healing. And so on top of that bed of trauma, which was a fracture in myself, my soul, it was a running into the mountains to get strong. So it was all, the timing of it was very interesting. And then propelled on this, I was very, like I said, very adrenaline lifestyle oriented until my nervous system decided it had had enough, which is what happens when we're building on a bed of trauma.
Yeah. Exactly.
Eventually, everything comes to the surface to be revealed, to be healed. And I had to learn how to be in a new way because I'd opened a yoga studio here in the Rockies in 2012. And within 7 months, I was on the floor in full adrenal burnout.
Wow.
Into, the business closed at the time. That was my 37th birthday, July 31st, 2012. And I had to heal. I burnt out business. Everything was crashing.
Yeah.
Yet it was that threshold of my becoming. It was, okay, let's move you into who you're truly here to be and to learning how to live in a new way that's not about the push and the force and the hustle. And it's coming through from a deeper state of wholeness within you versus operating from, not only patriarchal programming, but operating from, ultimately, I saw it was a fractured state.
Wow, what a powerful journey and part of your story that I personally did not know about. So thank you for sharing that. And as you were talking, like it's always fascinating to me how the universe, how God knows what you need before you need it, and being surrounded by the mountains, like that's what you ran to as part of your support system for your journey to start healing. And when I think of what you would have had to have done to heal, a lot of people just think time heals all things. And you, of all women, will probably argue that time does not do that. It can help, but really, if we are not actively addressing these wounds, it just calluses, and therefore it just numbs, or we suppress and it gets pushed down. And the brain goes into that protective mode very, very well to help us try to not remember. But then it comes out and it manifests in different ways.
Yes.
In our relationships, in our belief systems around money, our ability to create or lack thereof, so many things, right? Even illness in the body. And so what were some of yours, and of course it's going to be different for everybody, but what were some of like your tangible things that you did to heal? Yeah, because when I think of that, sometimes people are like, oh, you just need to heal, you need to do the work. And so many people get lost in language like that.
Yes. Yeah, there's I took very tangible steps. And so obviously I was in a pretty precarious position. I really broke my nervous system, and my mental health was at a crisis state because I was on the edge. So I was on the edge. I was literally on suicide watch. And
Wow.
so that was part of this piece. So there's the energetic side, there's the very physical side, and physically, at a foundational level, one, we needed to get my nervous system into a more regulated state as I broke it.
Right.
I broke my nervous system. I felt like I broke my brain and had to rebuild from ground zero. And the irony of it is that it was the opening of a yoga studio. And, but at the same time, it was a business. It was the opening of a business.
Right.
Without the proper structure, supports, and plans in place. I will share that. And at the same time, it was a recognition that I was operating in a way that was not serving. And so my foundational practice from that time became meditation, whereas prior to that, it had always been around movement. I could move physically a lot and had a high capacity for that, but sitting still felt like I wasn't doing. And that was the point. I needed to learn how to be. So let's take all energy out of you so you can't physically move and teach you how to be in a new way, which is in deeper connection to self. And then utilizing, I dove in to study from a wellness lens, like what was going on with my adrenal glands, what was going on with my nervous system, and started to understand the benefits of working with adaptogenic support, and like how much life force can I add into my body through what I'm consuming,
Right.
and is carrying optimal energy. And then the quality of the water I was drinking at the time. I started to get all my water from a freshwater spring filled with all the minerals that are supporting the adrenals, as we know. Meditation became a daily practice. And initially, I had no bandwidth for really taking care of myself. I actually was under care. I was being cared for by my mother at the time, in the beginning, because I literally didn't have the capacity to cook meals for myself. And so it was a ground zero. And it was getting my nervous system into regulation. It was removing anything extra that was on my plate, so I could just focus on it. It felt really simple, but it was the basics of getting quality sleep, because prior to the crash, I'd stopped sleeping for about 3 months. I was maybe averaging a couple of hours a night. And we know what that does over time.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it was just bringing it back to the basics. It was getting support. I was utilizing and being supported with a combination of holistic healing practices, from cranial sacral therapy, Chinese medicine. Acupuncture was working really well for me to help restore my kidneys and my glandular body. And then there was the benefits of adaptogens on a physical level, and then the work of my mind, because my mind was what was undoing me.
Right. Yeah.
And
Wild.
I feel that it's important to, we speak to the physical and the mental, and then of course the energetics are within all of that, because what I needed to do is add as much vibration and vitality back into me as I could. Because I remember going for my first treatment of Chinese medicine, and they said your main organs are functioning, but actually through our lens, you're dead right now, because there was just no chi, there was no life force moving, which is why I couldn't literally get off the couch. I didn't have the energy to sit up initially. And I had just kept pushing myself, like, what's wrong with you? You've climbed mountains for 18 hours a day before, like the voice in my head. And that's why I say that was my undoing, because it was so harsh and intense. And this really opened the path of self-love.
Sure. Yeah.
And those words, we hear about them a lot, but when we really dive into the truth of what it means to come home to that divinity within. And though I well on the yoga path, well on the path of spirituality, had already dove into shamanism and these other modalities, but this was the turning point where I had to learn how to come home to the feminine within me, and to love her and let her come through, because I had always lived in more of a, fired up, very masculine way. And I had a disconnect to the feminine. Now it goes, and there's a collective consciousness to this. And of course, when there's been trauma, there literally was a fear, a lack of safety of being embodied in my femininity too. So there was a lot of reprogramming that needed to happen. And this was the propellant. And I devoted the next 13 years ultimately to where we are now, from 2012, into the path of the divine feminine. I had otherworldly type of experiences of, I felt the Divine Mother coming and saying, like, surrender into my arms and let me support you. And it was the letting go that opened me to beginning the journey out. So sharing some of those really physical, tangible tools. And then so much of it was around rewiring the pathways to create coherence between brain and heart. So I did a lot of heart math work initially and started to work on expanding the electromagnetic field of my heart so that literally I could start to feel my light again. I could feel my heart opening. I could feel safety. I could feel what I needed to feel to start that vibration and emanation to move through me.
So at what point because that's a longer period of time that you mentioned, right? Like you just said 12 years, right? 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, but it was a year of really focused, like it was a year before I started working again.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then let's call it like your healing decade plus, a decade of really like healing in this journey. At what point for you did you have this call within inside of you that you wanted to actually become the mentor, the guide to help other women lead from their highest frequency, but also to learn how to heal and how to take wounds that turning your wounds can be morphed into leadership material?
Yeah, absolutely. It was right away because out of 2012, people saw me, as Rise, like, it's a small community where I live. There's this yoga studio. It was, meeting like beautiful, beautiful results in the beginning. And then it started, the faltering, the realities of a brick and mortar business and whatnot. And so there was this massive rise and then a rapid crash. And then I disappeared.
Yeah.
And then I came back. And he was like, I came back in 2013, started to reappear. And I literally had women coming to me and saying, I'd like to work with you because I'm in burnout. And so automatically, like my mentorship business that had been more focused on health, wellness, and fitness started to transition. And I recognized that I was about to, support women in coming home to a new way within themselves. And so I attracted a lot of women professionals, CEOs, judges, lawyers, police officers, like women who are in strong roles and had been operating through a more masculine frequency. And there's nothing wrong with the masculine, but where the distortion came in is we were really operating through patriarchal programming, and that's the piece. And so I knew that if my supporting one woman from not having to go to where I went to that literally the edge, I was like fulfilling, like that was my purpose. And I started to bring forth teachings and pathways to walk with women individually in group settings. And I kept seeing these same themes. And it was, we've got to bring it back to self-love. I called it like radical self-love is phase one of healing the relationship to self, of that not enoughness syndrome that comes up. And bringing women into their wholeness. And so it started in 2013 and continued to evolve into new levels of what I was accessing. And I speak that because there is a part of my work that, I work with the Akashic records. I'm channeling and transmitting from the unseen realms, and the development of these gifts were part of what I was invited into on the other side. They were opening. So I had it was like a grand breaking point threshold where multiple things were happening at once. I look back and I see the layers to them that we spoke of in the beginning of this call. And how it was all so connected and the timing was truly divine. 2012 was considered to be the last big wave of awakening before 2020, as these increasing frequencies are coming into the planet, awakening us to our truth. And so I can see, obviously, my journey, it got to be the way it got to be, which was perfect, really. I look back and I'm so grateful. And then I kept saying yes to the messages that I was receiving, to taking myself further on the path beyond supporting women physically and with yoga and with meditation, now starting to further develop my channel, which we all have. We all have the gift of the channel, and it's like we've got to personal train it like we personal train our body to start to access these higher gifts. And this is a lot of what I support women with, because it can feel like you're breaking, or you're going crazy, or what is even happening. And then combine that with transitions in life. I'm turning 50 this month in July.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And so it's a unique time in life too, that really I see as a spiritual initiation portal for many women as well. So there's layers to this. And I saw how this invitation into a more feminine embodiment that has us living in greater harmony with our bodies, with energy, with not looking through a lens of productivity and looking through a lens of like pushing and forcing performance.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's actually into the surrender, because the surrender, which really it was, I felt and heard these words, let go. And it was like I was letting go of everything I thought I was and I needed to be, and how I needed to operate, to surrender into the arms of the divine surrounding me, so I could really get to know the truth of who I was on a soul level.
I love that. It's very
And
powerful.
it was, and it's a journey. It's a continual journey, because it's evolution, right? It's the course of our lifetime. And we're here to open our light more and more, which includes seeing and allowing the shadows to come through so that we can transmute and alchemize them into our power. And this is what becomes our leadership, the fire with our leadership.
So let me ask you, obviously, you're working with hundreds of thousands of women. And this may be just like around your clientele, but do you see a pattern, or are there like certain signs that you see amongst women when you can recognize that they're not in their power, or they're not in their highest frequency?
Yes. I see frequencies in people. So I see their light field, their aura, their light body, and can see where the congestion is,
Right.
where the collapse energetically is in their field. And so that's the quantum healing work that I bring forth. And then we recognize there is also the connection to the collective, especially with women, the collective suppression of the feminine, the divine feminine, which is why we're in this potent time of reclamation. But I see it in a woman not speaking her truth, silencing herself. I've been there. All of these things are parts of my own journey of reclaiming my voice, my power, my sensuality, reclaiming pleasure, reclaiming my connection and my relationship, and healing my relationship with wealth to be able to build a 7-figure brand. And all of these pieces I recognized were disconnected and fractured within me. So as I'm moving through my own journey of healing, that, in the beginning phase, that first year was really very physical and mental healing. And then it starts to expand, because we recognize we are these energetic beings, and we are here to live, and create from our highest frequency. And there is always a higher frequency.
Big time. Well, as you're talking, I'm like, just before our call, actually, I had my call with my energy healer, And so my chakras and everything have been cleared. So I'm like, I should be good for the next little bit. But I'm like, it's funny. I mean, I had that booked like probably I do it like every 2-3 months at least. And this was an emergency one that she just said, I have an opening. Do you want it? And I said, yes. So I find it so fascinating, not coincidental. I think it's so intentional that that's was my day. And this was the day that you chose to also have our interview.
Yes.
Just amazing, like energetics, just how they align, just even on that, right? Like that's a frequency in of itself.
Absolutely. The synchronicities, right?
Yeah.
And that's where and I've got chills because it's our fields, if we want to go into this part of, this piece of the conversation, I'm just feeling this wanting to come through is recognizing everything is about resonance. And we are vibrating at certain frequencies which are influenced by what we're carrying within us in our body. If we're carrying trauma, that trauma is finding its way to the surface so it can be released, whether it's through fascia work, energy work, a combination. And as
it's
we
not just trauma, like even just like anger, resentment, like all
yes,
just even emotions, right? It doesn't have to be something actually horrible happened per se to you.
no,
It can be around a relationship, whatever it is, parents, sibling, an
yes,
employer, your boss, like, right? Like your partner. There's so many things where it gets stored
yes,
within the body.
yes, stored in the body from what the mind is thinking, the emotions that are felt, and if they're avoided or there's shoved down, the agitation that comes up internally. But what we're here to do is really open more light. We are, on this path of awakening, of ascension. We're recognizing and remembering we are these spiritual divine beings, light beings having a human experience.
Yeah.
And so we're here to open more of our light. And as we move through these, whatever it is that we're becoming aware of within ourselves, right? Wherever there feels like there are binds or locks or patterns, habits that are not serving, it's like we unlock a new layer of light within us, which expands our auric field, expands our light, which is why we say, your frequency enters the room before you do, because people are feeling your vibrational signature, your light signature, ultimately, which is your energy. And we have an infinite, the truth is we have this infinite light that wants to burst forth. The essence of our soul is a light of another dimension. I often say it's like the 10 million suns radiating, and this is who we're remembering ourselves to be as we come home to the union within. And so much of what creates the dissonance energetically, and when we have these experiences of challenges, is because there's an aspect of separation. We're choosing separation in some way, and we're remembering our way home to oneness, to the recognition we are here to unite. Once again, unite in heart, unite in light, unite in the most expanded state that we can bring. And it's like be the glitch in the matrix so that we can remove anything that we've added in that is not in the highest service to us or to the world. And so for everyone that is cleaning up, right? Like cleaning up their energy field, cleaning up the debris, the residue, which is also the history of the collective. When we look back through the course of time and our lineages and ancestry, we're opening the field into more and more light, more and more harmony. And this is wellness. Like wellness and wealth are so intimately and beautifully connected here, because we're here to be these pathways of least resistance, where we're in harmony with the unified field, the quantum field. So no longer sending out messages of dissonance that create, it's like disruption to the signal, and then attract back a resonance, but not with what we're actually desiring necessarily, yet it's responding to who we're being.
I needed to pause just for a quick second. If you are loving this conversation and thinking every woman needs to hear this, you are right. So please hit that subscribe button, drop me a review, and help me flood the algorithm with real talk that actually matters. Let's get more women into their wealthy era together. Your support means so much to me. So, okay, there's so much here that I think that sometimes people can get really overwhelmed. And when I think about part of even what you do around being an activator, using embodiment, of course, as a tool, it's not just a concept. And how can somebody kind of be their own mini activator? Like, what can they do? Because unless, and obviously if you're not following Kristen, you absolutely need to make sure you're doing that. And we're going to link you up in the show notes and connect with her. Maybe go on one of her retreats. We'll talk about that too. I know you've got an amazing one coming up in Egypt this year that if I didn't have a new 6-month-old, I'd be coming there. Like, it looks incredible. So we'll come back to that to talk about that at the end. But I think about, how can we be our own ongoing, because this is ongoing. You can't always be at one of your retreats, right?
Yes.
And like, it's not the whole point is to learn this work and attend one of your retreats to fine tune and expand and level up, like at your new stage of life. And then be in communication with somebody like yourself, or join your community, or be a part of a mastermind that you do to have the continuum. But there's stuff on the day to day, or the stuff that you're not even ready to even share with anybody yet.
Yes.
So how can somebody be their own activator, and what could they do, like, after this episode? Like, what could they go and do?
I love this question so much. So thank you for asking, because we have all accesses within ourselves.
Right.
Right. And so when we talk about the word light, even just think about, you walk into a room and you feel a frequency to it. You feel an energy.
Totally.
You might feel, oh my gosh, this place feels so good. It's so warm. I feel so I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm in a bliss bubble in this space. Right. Great energy. Yeah. Compared to walking into a space, or whether even like a hospital, and you can sense the energy, the illness, the density that is there. Or you walk into a room and you can tell there's just a fight or something, right? So we can sense this. We have the ability within ourselves to activate our light from within. And by just noticing, what are the thought patterns that are moving through the mind? Like, what is coming up? Are we feeling a lot of heavier energy coming up? Like, what's going on? And it's to feel that and recognize that it's often parts of ourselves that are wanting to be witnessed, to be let go of. We don't have to carry anything. Right. And immediately, one of the first practices that I did out of 2012 was, it was like a gratitude practice. And it sounds so simple, and we talk about it a lot, yet it's increasing the vibrational frequency within the electromagnetic field of your heart. And the heart brain is stronger than the brain in your head. And there's different statistics around that. And so I chose, every day I had to focus on 3 observations of beauty, is what I called it. Mm-hmm. 3 observations of beauty. Whether it was, because it was very difficult at that time, the state I was in, I was so contracted. I was angry about everything. I was very much in a powerless state. Right. And had to walk myself back into my own power and expansion, ultimately, energetically. And so it's, what do you observe that is beautiful? What can you celebrate right now? Because there is abundance all around us. Totally. Right? It's like waking up, we had pouring rain, the sound of the rain, the smell of the air. Yeah. A very tangible practice is start here, because you start to notice your energy change. Yeah, big time. Right? It's like, oh my gosh, the sound of a giggling baby. Oh my, I'm sure that it's.
Yeah. Oh, I love mine. She's got the best little laugh ever.
Yeah. Instant heart expander. And so we go back to the heart. We want to bring ourselves back to the heart and help the heart expand from whatever it's been carrying that has been heavy. And it's not to bypass in any way. It's to feel. because we also learn to avoid feeling.
Right. Yeah.
And right away, for everyone listening, it's like, what can you see around you that is so evident of abundance in your life? You might not have those multi-5-figure months or whatever the desire is in your business, for example, or your revenue, yet there is an open the fridge, and I'm so celebrating that I've got all of my favorite things in there, the beautiful fresh market organic foods. And so we get to activate that frequency within ourselves every single day. There is something to be grateful for, there is something to celebrate, and there is an observation of beauty from the hummingbird buzzing out the window.
Even just, and like, I love that you're bringing this up. And what comes up for me as you're talking is even, and you mentioned the heart, but just actually even coming back to your heart and giving gratitude for your heart. And years ago, and I know many people, do different heart gratitude practices. Tony Robbins is probably one of the most notorious, famous ones in the world, just because he's Tony and, he's got the following. But it's always resonated with me how he articulates it and breaking down, and just simply putting your hands over your heart and giving thanks that no matter what you did or did not do in your day, your heart continues to beat, regardless of how good or how bad, how horrible your failures, your successes. And as long as it beats, you have life.
Yes.
And that in it of itself is just a gift, right? And your heart continues to beat without you needing to ask it to, without you needing to say please or thank you. It just does. And that is the gift in of itself. And so if you can't find anything else in your day, and there are some days where for a lot of people, you're in it and it's very hard. It's like that simple pump is
Yes.
like simply enough, and it makes me like, I'm actually getting heated. Like I'm starting to sweat a bit because I'm getting emotional, because
Yes.
it really, when you sit in on that and you realize the love that surrounds you so much in the universe, and that's why your heart beats, like your heart is there and it just does the work for you so that you can now be here,
Yes.
enjoy what is here, but also your own purpose, to be a light expander and then to give to other people. Slowly upon that, like when you start with your heart, there's so many other things that can flow from that.
Absolutely. And I mean, the heart is where we connect.
Yeah.
We connect in our humanness here, right? And it's like we're all here to know love, to be love, to remember love, to share this, to remember our connection is here. And the heart is the first thing that forms
Yeah.
in our stages of development, right? And then the hands are an extension of them. And this heartbeat, in indigenous wisdom, they say the drum is utilized to connect you to the heartbeat of the earth, and we start to create a harmonic in vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the celebration of we each have our unique beat. We each have our unique soul, love, light that we are here to be and to bring to the world, filled with magic, filled with passion, and something that nobody else has. And I always used to share that too. It's like, recognize how unique you are, and you are here with mission, with purpose, and with the most radiant, gorgeous expression of all of who you are here to be. And so when we can bring ourselves back to our heart, and something very tangible, which is bringing the hand to the heart, another one bringing the hand to the womb space, plugging into these, I call them portals of power, of remembrance, and of connection, which helps regulate the nervous system right away. We start to drop that sympathetic fight flight response. We start to drop into our breath more as we guide ourselves back into the present moment. And this is one of the ways to do so. And then feel the significance of our own heartbeat, our aliveness, the gift of our presence here.
It is. It's so good. It's so powerful. Kristen, energy obviously, like, to maintain your frequency, to hold the energy that you have, or to desire to expand in more abundance, not so much more in the essence of more, but um, the polarity of that is needing to have firm boundaries and learning to exercise the word no.
Yes.
Oftentimes to people who are not necessarily the closest to us, but they're maybe family, and so they're close to us by default, or certain relationships, or it could be in, in running a 7-figure business. There's for sure boundaries of structure you need to have in place, in order to maintain so that you can hold the frequency that you desire for your life.
Absolutely.
Walk us a bit through some of that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about boundaries?
Oh my gosh. Learning boundaries was one of the key parts on my journey, because I really had poor boundaries. I was overdoing, people pleasing, overcommitting, getting all excited and energy and overdoing it, and really not being aligned, and expressing aligned no's as much as I was expressing aligned yeses. And then really getting discerning too with my time, with the energy that I wanted to be surrounded by. And so from implementing strong structures in my business around who gets access to me and when, the first 4 hours of my day are mine to engage in my meditation, my yoga practice, my enjoy a coffee in the hot tub under the sunrise or whatever it might be, get a workout in at the gym, depending on what I'm deciding that day. And then, giving like boundaries around when clients have access to me. It's not unlimited access. I'd see that a lot. It's like, no, actually, these are the hours my team is available.
Yeah.
Putting more structures, implementing structures and the necessary supports in my business so that I can stay in the frequency that I'm at my optimal state in for the work that I'm here to do. And it's getting really discerning around what I'm consuming, right? Is it supporting me? And one of the things, like, everything comes back to frequency. And so, I'm very particular about what I will take in. I work with, different supplements and supports. Molecular hydrogen is one of those key supports that I have found to be incredible, that I've been utilizing over the last 2 years, and am seeing only it's like myself reverse age, while I literally see and feel my cells lighting up with more energy, with more vitality, and creating a greater harmonic on the inside on a biological level with what's happening, which of course then supports everything else. So the boundaries are key, and it's with time, it's with commitments, it's with food, it's with exercise, and keeping myself in the most optimal state possible, because that's my commitment to everyone that I'm serving. Is like, I am here to be as bright and as expanded and in humming, in precision that I can be, because that's when my work is streaming so powerfully.
Yeah. And I think oftentimes people don't realize that on the receiving side, people actually respect when you have these parameters in place, when you have boundaries and you have the ability to say no. There's something about that shows that you hold yourself in a priority of importance. And there's an exchange. Like, I have that with my clients as well, where and I actually had, I won't name who it was, but somebody who is close to me in my life, that there was a long time where I wouldn't take meetings before 11 a.m., 10:30, 11 a.m. Same thing as you. My mornings are completely guarded. And anybody who's known me for a long period of time knows that about my routine. Now it's 1 p.m. because I have a daughter, and her nap time, like yesterday, she actually slept till 1. And so I don't know And I refuse to have the chaotic morning. I refuse. Once in a while, obviously there's exceptions to the rules. And anytime I had this happen last week, because we had a doctor's appointment for her at 10:30 in the morning. I looked at my calendar that morning. I was like, why is that in there at 10:30? Like, that's already, I'm like instantly stressing about my morning. I called the doctors and I was like, there's no way we're going to be coming before noon. So either can we come at noon or I have to book for next week. I actually decided, I was like, I'm not signing up for that. I'm not doing that this morning, you know?
Yes.
And it's funny because some people will look at you and say, oh, like, who do you think you are? You know, that you're so high and mighty or whatever it is. And this is a part where you have to go internally and recognize, one, you don't owe anybody an explanation, right? You don't have to explain why your days are structured the way they are. And we get to design our lives. And so you get to design how you want your mornings to be. And my firm belief is that when I serve myself first, I'm my most important client. And when Shay is fully served, I can show up and be the best version of myself. And you already alluded to this as well. And that you get to show up and be the best version of yourself to serve in your highest capacity to your clients. And your cup's not dry or missing or resentment. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, where it's like, there was times where my workout was in the afternoon and I'd get a call from a client who wants to go see properties. And so it's like, do I want to go do showings and possibly make money, or do I want my workout? Truthfully, I want my workout.
Right.
And I get upset. And I'm not really upset at the client. What am I really upset about? I'm upset that I'm trading something that's important to me. And
Right.
so I created a boundary around it. And it's now in the mornings and so forth. And so I love that, you know, you bring that, you brought that up as well, around being the best version of yourself. And there's a high level of respect that people have for you when you do that. And I'm sure you find too, it just actually also brings efficiency and
Yes.
productivity to what you do. So many people are busy and they're not productive. It's like they're always busy. Those people always busy, busy, busy. And there's a lot of people that aren't running 7-figure businesses, right? And so it's like, well, what are you actually doing in your day that is so frantic or
Right.
is causing so much, like there's no peace? And oftentimes is because there is no boundaries around time management, around people, clients. And so I always love diving into other people just to hear, like, how are you doing it? How are you structuring it? So,
Yeah. And it is unique and individual to each person, but it comes back to that self-honoring, right?
right. Yeah.
And self-honoring, and then putting the boundaries in place so there's no power leaking or energy leaking.
Yeah.
Because frantic will give frantic results.
Mm-hmm.
Clarity will give clear results.
Right.
And when it comes to the signature, it's like, do we want a frantic signature going out there where people are like, oh my gosh, this person is always stressed, running around? It's like power sees power, feels power. Leaders see leaders and feel leaders.
Right.
And that's a powerful signature, because then you start to attract at that level. And that really starts to shift things for you. And so leaky boundaries
Mm,
are really not attractive.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I want to shift slightly because you brought up this water, and
Yes.
I'm very, very strong belief in quality. And you mentioned earlier even about what you're putting in your body that matters, and that quality. And so many people think that as long as they're drinking 8 cups a day, that they're being hydrated, which is the furthest thing from the truth, and that your water matters. You know, I have a Berkey. I also have a Kangen. You know, I've done other water things, putting stuff into my water. And you brought up some fancy words. And before we jumped on this call, actually, I saw your water bottle. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, we got to talk about this. So,
Yes.
tell us all about it.
So this is molecular hydrogen technology. And I was introduced to it a couple of years ago. I was already very aware, everything comes back to frequency, our frequency. And what we're consuming either enhances and supports our frequency or depletes it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the world is actually drinking dead water that's been processed, and it's not doing anything to support you on a cellular level or a biological level. You're not even really taking a lot of that in. You're not being properly hydrated. And so when I started to dive into molecular hydrogen and utilize it to support me, I mean, it's really what the stars are made of. It's who we're remembering ourselves to be as light. It's like I'm drinking liquid light, which is entering my cells on a molecular level, because that's the only way that, this is actually coming in, supporting the production of ATP, the production of energy in the body, reducing inflammation. There's a number of benefits and supports of this. And what we are doing is actually structuring water, because we know water is sentient, and we can add frequency to water. There are 3 frequencies that actually you can choose from: energy, recovery. There's another one, the Lumi Vitae frequency, which mimics the sun's impact on adding that, the source sun into your water. Yeah. Working with color frequencies, which have different impacts on your energetic body. And then there is the molecular hydrogen component of it as well. For me, I live a very healthy life. I mean, that was ingrained in me from a long time ago, on a physical level. And I have noticed so many benefits. It's like the first thing my esthetician said to me is, what are you even doing? Because your skin is so radiant and you're aging backwards every time I see you. And I said, well, the only thing I've added is I'm drinking molecular hydrogen water. And then my hairstylist, she's like, your hair is getting like more and more lush. And what are you doing? Yeah. And so it's really neat to, I feel it. I see the frequencies. I literally can see the lights on a cellular level within me. And then I have this feedback from others who are familiar with my skin or familiar with my hair over the last decade, 15 plus years. And I'm loving that more and more people are embracing the powerful benefits of molecular hydrogen. I really see it being the big wave in the world of wellness as we're moving forward, and bringing molecular hydrogen into the body and starting to understand it on a deeper level. And for me, I never needed the science, truthfully. I simply felt the frequency of it, and I could feel the resonance and knew that this would be a really powerful support for me. And then the studies that have been done on the impact of drinking this water for people who are navigating illness or disease. And, so many people have more energy, cells are transforming, things are shifting. Yeah. Things are shifting. And so it's an incredible support that way. And the one thing that we know we need is water.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I love that. We're going to link it up in the show notes. So if you're interested to learn more, and obviously Kristen's DMs are always open. So if you have any questions on it, but I'm going to talk more to you offline about it. But thank you for sharing that. I just I could talk about water all day long. So it's so important. Yes. And, this is such a game changer. So, Kristen, you have a retreat coming up. I would love for you, just in kind of closing out, just share with people, what is the retreat, and who is this for? What woman is this for?
It's for men and women. So,
okay. Sorry, guys. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We've actually got couples that are booked already. And Sacred Light Luxury Egypt Retreat. This is a retreat for the ones, I would call it the ones who resonate with the mystical, who are fascinated by history, energy. Egypt is a powerful vibrational portal. There is no doubt. We are seeing a growth in visitation to Egypt over especially the last 5 years, at unprecedented rates. It's a power portal in the world. There's a lot of spiritual significance to it, energetic significance to it, incredible new discoveries happening with the scientists who are studying the temples. as activators of light and everything that's going on. And so I went to Egypt in 2022. It transformed my life. The experiences I had there don't make sense on a logical level.
Right.
And I'm not one here for logic. I'm here for energy and powerful spiritual experiences that are really opening us to the truer recognition of who we are. It's like the truer you. So for those that are curious, spiritually curious, resonate as mystics, seekers, explorers, passionate about understanding our history on a deeper level than what we know in books and learnings. There's a lot more going on there. So we're tapping into light codes. We're tapping into it really transmissions.
Yep.
And the path of the mystery school initiates, actually. And so probably the most famous two people on the path of the mystery school initiates, ascended masters, so to speak, would be that of Yeshua, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
And so I've booked out private viewings in several of the temples, so we have them to ourselves to have incredible experiences. We're 5-star luxury all the way with this experience, because that is how I really feel we can be so supported, as there is deep, powerful, energetic work that's happening on this journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really calls you, like the soul remembers. And that's how I see it. The journeys that I offer around the world, sacred luxury retreats and experiences, are on certain lands. And there's reason for that, because it's soul remembrance. And so these lands call us home when it's time to pick up the remembrance of these codes that are supporting the next part of our own evolutionary and ascension journey, and opening us to the bigger light that we are here remembering in the truth of who we are on a soul level.
So exciting. And that's in October, right?
November, actually. I've scheduled it to be over the 11/11 portal, which is very significant to me personally, and many resonate with that as well.
Okay, well, that's definitely going in the show notes. So if you are interested, definitely check it out. I didn't realize it was for both men and women. I'm like, maybe that changes some things. I got to bring the babysitter with me though, but it sounds phenomenal. So, it's going to be a life-changing experience, no matter where you're at on your journey.
It really is. Yeah, there is a before Egypt and an after Egypt. And 99.99% of the people that I've spoken to say those exact words.
Yeah. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. So in closing out, we do the wealth drop. So like the mic drop. And normally the question that I ask everybody, I have one question that was left for you by the previous guest without knowing you were coming on. So they left this question not knowing that this was going to be for you. And because they're so similar, I'm just going to ask you their question for the wealth drop today. And they asked, what's the wealth building advice you think is total BS that most women still believe?
What I feel right away is that it's going to come from outside of you. And there's an aspect of like looking outside of self for systems and prompts, when the ultimate wealth frequency and embodiment in the creation that will come from this is coming from who you're being, and your vibration of your truth is the code that is expanding your wealth and your abundance in the world, because there's no separation here.
I love that. Kristen, thank you for joining today. It's always so great to connect with you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here to share in this space. And I'm so excited for, everything that you're bringing forth with the Wealthy CEO. These are the conversations that have, infinite ripple. And I'm so grateful to be able to share with your audience here. So thank you again for the invitation.
If something in today's episode resonated with you or sparked a shift, tag me on IG or send me a DM. I genuinely love hearing what lands for you. And if it spoke to you, share it or leave a quick review. It helps more women find this show and step into their own wealthy era. Until next time, lead with purpose, live with intention, and stay wealthy.